Hello and welcome back to another KCC video. I'm Rob and today we'll be jumping into Malicious Compliance. Before we start, please hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell so you know when the next video goes live. Our first story today comes to us from Aqualink97. Boss presents a crappy contract and says I can quit if I don't want to sign. So I do. Let's jump right in. I want to mention right away that I posted this on another sub, but it was removed because it didn't fit the rules. I've added some details to this post that I hadn't earlier because I didn't think they were relevant to that sub. With that out of the way, let's get into it. I used to work for a local youth center, kind of. I won't name them. The story goes like this. The man who ran the center knew a friend of my family who told him I was going to college for graphic design and video. He calls me and lets me know that under the umbrella of the youth center, he wanted to revive an old local magazine and wanted it to be run by youth. I was 18. He said that as well as a physical magazine, there was going to be a video component that would go on YouTube and the website, and that I would be a great fit for the team to help with this. He also said that they would assist in getting all participating youth started towards their own business. I was thinking, wow, I'll have a job right out of college. This is great. I was promised on-the-job training, an eventual pay increase to $18 an hour, and a lot of other stuff. I started at $14 an hour. I won't go into every detail, but basically, I was told that I was to write articles for the magazine as well, as all employees would do this. No problem. Slowly but surely, we built a small team. I recommended a friend from college who would eventually become the editor. Let's call her editor. Another person who would become my friend was hired and directed and edited a lot of videos I worked on. We'll call him director. And there was also a sound technician named Rapper. There were other employees as well, but the four of us were the main magazine crew. The rest helped, but mostly worked at the youth center for youth reasons. Now that I've explained that, we can get into it. Over the course of my employment, a lot of shady things happened. The center claimed that they would help us start our own businesses, and we should get business licenses and they would contract us. In reality, this was a way for them to avoid paying taxes and making us do it instead. As well, there were a lot of make a video about blank orders, but no instructions until the finished video was handed in. We did stories on a lot of cultural topics, so this could be really difficult at times. On top of that, the boss was almost never there, so when we had questions, we basically had to figure things out ourselves. Despite all of this, I was loyal. I worked there for 2 years, and I'm confident that I was a major reason we were going for a while. Because whenever somebody messed something up in video, I was the one they came to fix it, sometimes with hours left to deadline. I filmed almost all events we covered. I knew where all of the files were for everything, the passwords, and a lot more. People asked me about all these things when they forgot. I also managed the YouTube page all by myself. But for whatever reason, the boss started to trust us less and less. Locks were changed on the doors, so none of our keys worked. Director and I were placed in an office where somebody was constantly watching us. Our time cards were argued about, and we were accused of only playing video games while at work. We played our Switches at lunch. I think he had trust issues because he's a sketchy person. He had the kind of fake being friends with everybody in case you need a favor view on life. Director and I started to be blamed for bad camera framing when we weren't even at the shoot. This got to the point where we were told to take extra training, but editor, who was mostly responsible for these mistakes, was treated like a queen. Even if I complained about something editor had done, nothing would ever come of it. Then comes December 2018. Boss calls a meeting. He tells us that the magazine will be transitioning into its own business, separate from the youth center. Here, on top of video and writing duties, we will be searching for contracts and driving to other cities in our province to film. He then proceeds to hand us a contract that we're required to sign if we continue to work for him. This contract sucks. There were a lot of things in there that would screw us over, but the main things were that while working for them, we wouldn't be allowed to conduct our own contracts, and if we quit, we can't work in our field in any of the whole province for 6 months. On top of that, Our job titles would be changed to interns, and our pay would stay the same, even though we were promised $18 an hour. Literally all of us were mad about this contract, but whenever we brought up problems, he would say, "This is non-negotiable. It's a perfectly normal contract." He also accused me of trying to find loopholes whenever I tried to discuss it. I have no idea about contracts, but if you're claiming to start youth up on their own businesses, this is not how you do it. He let us know to aid with the transfer to a new business. He was in talks for a new contract worth a lot of money, but didn't disclose how much, probably so we wouldn't feel entitled to be paid more for doing all the work. He gave us a week to look at the contract. After that, there would be 1 week until Christmas. I spent all of the week dreading the next Monday when I had to make a decision. I begged boss to change it, but he stood firm. He even indicated that if we weren't happy with it, we might as well quit. This is important. Then, on the Friday evening, I noticed that my job is listed on a job board. I'm shocked. I check Facebook, the magazine website, and everything. My passwords are removed. I have no login. He is trying to strong-arm me into signing. Then, on Monday, my girlfriend and I get breakfast before I go in, when I get a text from director letting me know he got fired upon walking into the building. My gears start to turn in my head. If he fired director, then he's definitely counting on having me do all of the work still. I know that I won't get fired because I'm the only person capable of making videos properly. So instead of going to work, my girlfriend and I type a letter of resignation, walk over to Staples and print it out, and bring it over to work. Before I give it to him, he greets me and lets me know that he fired director. The casual way he talks to me about it confirms he expects me to stay, but he did this to himself by listing my job and arrogantly stating that we should quit if we didn't like the contract. So I hand him an envelope which has my letter in it. What's this, Aqualink97? My letter of resignation. He is shocked but accepts. I think in that moment he finally realized that his actions have consequences. Then he walks inside. I say goodbye to everybody, hugs all around, pack up my stuff, then find him crying in the sound room. I talk to director later, and he tells me that his mom was connected to boss's huge paying contract, and that he actually hadn't had the contract yet. Director's mom was really upset, and since they hadn't signed anything yet, she pulled some strings and got director the contract instead. Turns out it was worth something like $60,000. So basically, the boss tried to strong-arm us into signing a crappy contract, then lost the only competent employee and a $60,000 contract. Editor and rapper eventually quit too. Rapper decided to focus on his music career and is doing pretty well for himself. I worked video contracts for a while until I got a full-time job again. So as a result, all of his crappiness and overall arrogance, boss no longer has enough money to print an actual magazine, is short-staffed, constantly going through new employees who always end up quitting, and rarely uploads videos. Their videos have crappy titles too, like the title of the camera footage, and rarely have edited thumbnails. I think it's safe to say we destroyed his ambition of starting a business, exploiting youth talent, right before Christmas. And just to be clear, even though I had the effects that my quitting would have on him in mind, I also knew that the youth center was funded separately from us, so we didn't ruin any poor kids' lives. Does it seem odd to anyone else that mom was able to pull a $60,000 contract and give it to her kid? Beyond that, I think OP should talk with the labor board because it doesn't sound like they were really working as a contractor. It sounds like they were required to do everything that an employee would do. Maybe worth a talk to somebody who knows a little bit more about labor law. Our next story comes to us from Oyonel. They want stone? Oh, I will give them stone. Let's jump right in. To start off, I wasn't the one to administer this malicious compliance, nor was I the target of it, but I was there to witness its every step. I work as a translator and interpreter for a foreign construction company in my country, translating between my foreign management and local suppliers. My culture and my management's culture are very different in terms of work ethics, which is a never-ending source of anger and anguish for my employers. That's why, although my job is to convey what they say, I often act as an intermediary when dealing with local companies. Just before Christmas, our main architect insisted on scheduling a meeting with the new mason supplier. I tried letting them know that maybe rescheduling for 2021 would be a good idea because my country is pretty big on Christmas celebrations, and we all know that between December 20th and January 10th, nothing will be done. Everyone is going on holidays, and especially now, with plague around already slowing everything down, Christmas time was sure to be a standstill. However, as I said, the architect was adamant that the meeting was scheduled. Mason suppliers' representatives came and we spent close to 3 hours arguing sizes of slabs. We were informed that dimensions that our architects were demanding are not easy to obtain and would be rather costly because of enormous losses in raw materials, which in my home country is a clear message. You need to change your design or find another supplier because we can't meet your demands, which is not a message that can be easily explained to my management. Thus, 3 hours long meeting. And yes, one could think that we could go and try to find another mason supplier that could do it, but unfortunately, this one supplier is a sole owner of stone quarry with this particular stone that our investors fell in love with. So after a long and exhausting fight, our architects capitulated to the idea of changing the design. And when we thought this all is well, our main architect said that our company needs samples as soon as possible. And when supplier explained that as soon as possible means as soon as possible after January 10th, once more, all hell was set loose. My management is still not used to not getting their way. In their culture, suppliers will do anything and everything that is demanded of them, and every no they hear, they take personally and think it's just an excuse, and that the supplier is simply lazy. So they weren't open to being understanding after being forced to change their project just a moment earlier. It was another exhausting hour of explanations and demands, where local supplier informed us that samples that we want need to be cut manually, and it's more work than one might think. And with Christmas time upon us, they simply don't have enough hands on board to cut the slabs they already have. But they are happy to direct us to places where their stone was used so we can see how it looks in reality. That idea wasn't accepted, and it was said that we should be able to see how their product really looks without going anywhere. Finally, the meeting was ended with, "Fine, I don't care how you do it, but I need stone and I need it quick." Resigned supplier conceded and meeting was finished on a sour note, but at least my management was somewhat satisfied. Until last week, our main architect called me panicked that someone called them and it was probably a delivery driver. I called the number I was given and true enough, it was a delivery driver. I went downstairs, our office is on a first floor, no elevator, and driver looked at me and smiled a little. "Oh, so I guess the package won't be delivered right to your hands?" Now, when I mentioned earlier that we wanted samples, I meant little blocks of material, in this instance, type of stone, no more than 2 by 5 inches or 5 by 15 centimeters, give or take. So when I was pointed to the package, I was surprised to say the least. We were sent full-size industrial slabs of stone, all types we wanted to see. You know, big-ass pieces of stone that are usually used on elevations of fancy buildings, massive things, but of course, neatly packed and secured, standing in front of our office building. I can't say my management was furious, they were aghast. See, the only way to move the package as a whole is with a forklift, but our entrance doors are not wide enough for a forklift to go through. Then there are stairs to tackle, which is a whole different story. A package like this is secured in pallet-like wood structure, and it needs to be broken so individual slabs can be taken out. But we don't have the equipment to pack it again if we were to open it. We can't open it. We can't bring it inside. And now we have a new fixture at the entrance. It's been a week since we got it, and for now it's being used as a bench by smoking coworkers. I don't know if there will be fallout, but as I mentioned earlier, we can't really drop this supplier. My management is quite silent about the whole issue, but one thing is clear, they will not be asking for samples again, as they asked me to find buildings that our supplier mentioned during our December meeting. And I know that my management expects me to be aghast and annoyed as they are, but the idea of someone in our supplier's company going, They want stone? Oh, I will give them stone. Brings me so much unadulterated joy that my mood brightens up whenever I see our stone fixture outside. Is anyone else surprised that the supplier didn't just walk out of the situation? I mean, they pretty much had them over a barrel, being the only one that supplied what they wanted. They really could have taken them to the cleaners over this one, but having a permanent fixture at the entrance to their building is a nice constant reminder of how that supplier works. Thank you to both OPs for posting their stories in the Malicious Compliance subreddit. They are linked in the description below. Please go check them out. Check out one of these other videos, and if you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button for more daily Reddit stories.